Good evening, everyone. And I say evening because normally our EDA meetings are in the morning, but we do have a special meeting this evening on December 2nd, 2025, which I will go ahead and call this EDA meeting for the City of Cottage Grove to order. Our first order of business will be, though, the Pledge of Allegiance, so if you please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, well, Jamie, please do the roll.
EDA President Bailey.
Here.
EDA Vice President Olson.
Here.
EDA Member Jean-Baptiste. EDA Member Cgeda.
Here.
EDA Member Latac.
Here.
EDA Member Scott.
Here.
EDA Member Cgeda.
Here.
All right, thank you. All right, so we'll move to number 4, and I'm going to be making some changes a little bit after this, just to let you know, because we have somebody that's stuck in traffic that has to get here to talk about the business items. But we'll start with number 4, which is approval of the minutes, and what we are approving is the 11/19/2025 EDA meeting minutes. If there were no corrections or changes, I'll look for a motion in a second.
I move to approve the meeting minutes from our last meeting.
All right, so I have a motion by EDA member Cgeda, seconded by EDA member Cgeda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And again, due to an individual that's going to be here to go over some of the financial information with regards to the TIF decertification, which is Stacy from Ellers, we'll go ahead and move to number 6, which is 2 public hearings. And we'll start with those first. And so I will go with A, which is the 2026 HRA Levy public hearing. And Brenda Melanowski, our finance director, will take us through this. And if the record would show, Jean-Baptiste, EDA member, is now with us. Welcome.
Good evening, EDA President, members of the EDA. Before you hold your public hearing regarding the HRA levy for 2026, I have a short presentation. As a reminder, when the city established the EDA, they afforded the EDA both HRA and EDA powers in the bylaws. And so that is why I'm in front of you this evening, because you established that HRA levy component. As a reminder, the EDA levy, we use that for those traditional economic development type activities that we do in the city, specifically regarding the business park and helping businesses. The HRA levy, on the other hand, it can be used for housing and development for low to moderate income families. In 2025, we established the HRA levy for the first time here in Cottage Grove. The reason we did that, the activities that we were doing regarding that housing development for those low to moderate families, had been doing in the past, but we felt it was more transparent to do a separate levy so that our property taxpayers, whether it's our businesses or our residents, that they can see how much they're paying for those activities. And so that's why we did that in 2025. We simply took the EDA levy from 2024 and we took 50% of it and we called it the EDA levy, and 50% of it we called the HRA levy. We also moved 50% of the salaries from the EDA fund over to the HRA fund to recognize those activities that had already been happening in the city that we would continue to do. Here is the allowable uses for the HRA, and specifically to remedy that shortage of housing for low and moderate residents and to redevelop blighted areas. The state sets the maximum levy that we can set at the city for HRA activities, or the HRA levy. It's 0.0185% of our market value. For 2026, that's $1.25 million. In 2025, the HRA levy was $137,500. For 2026, we're proposing to increase it by $5,000 up to $142,500. The $142,500 is the same amount that you set in June for that preliminary property tax levy for the HRA. The 2026 budget, here's on the screen. It is showing the 2025 budget and 2026 for comparison. And just as a reminder, we had moved those salary and benefits from the EDA fund. We had first established it in 2025, so that is shown on here. And we're proposing to do a modest increase of $5,000 to the HRA levy, just over 3% increase, 3.6% from 2025. Because we have growth in the community, the median home in Cottage Grove will see about $1 decrease on the HRA levy, and that is because of the new construction in the community. The thing that I really thought about in the last month, as we didn't have an EDA manager who would typically do some of these affordable housing type of activities, we had two projects coming in at the same time. We had ROARs with the affordable housing, and we had real estate equities. And so we had city staff time, whether it was the community development director, or the finance director, or administration, or the planners, working with those developers to get those well-qualified affordable projects across the finish line. So this really came into fruition for me to realize that those activities that we've been doing in the past, that by having this HRA levy, that we're really recognizing what we're doing in the community. We are not the only community in the metro that is establishing that HRA levy. So on your screen and in your packet were the other metro communities that established those HRA levies in the past and are proposing to do that for 2026. With that, the recommendations are on the screen, and I'm happy to stand for any questions.
Okay, thank you, Brenda. I have two real quick questions, if you would. I know you mentioned it was 5,000 for the salary and benefits, and that's, you said about 3%, is that correct?
The levy went up about 3.6%, and salaries went up about the same.
Yeah, and didn't we do, and maybe, I'm not sure if it's you or whoever, but isn't the levy, or I'm sorry, isn't our COLA for this year 3%?
It is a 3% COLA and a 3% market value
Right,
increase.
so it's actually more. I just wanted to put the connection of the 3% in there.
Yes.
That was there, so, okay. Yeah, Councilmember Olson.
Thank you. Brenda, thanks for the explanation here. I like the fact that you mentioned at the outset, the attempt to be more transparent in terms of, where these funds will be designated and what they can be used for, which is important. I always want to mention when we talk about anything related to the EDA that we have two separate EDA funds, one of which is funded through the levy and another one that is funded differently. I wondered if you might take a moment and just revisit that to ensure that anybody watching at home who may have any questions has a clear understanding of the way that that financing works from the EDA side. And then when you mentioned splitting the number between EDA and HRA, which fund are we talking about?
Okay, yep. Great question.
I thought so too. Thanks. Appreciate that.
EDA
Yeah.
member Olson.
Yeah.
I can say Council Member Olson. So yes, so really three funds. And so anybody that's worked in government or looked at government, we like to have lots of funds because we like to segregate an account for our taxpayers. We want to be transparent on how we're utilizing our fund. Our general fund is our chief operating budget for the city, pays for police, fire services, snow plowing, all those sorts of activities. But when we talk about EDA, we have the EDA Special Revenue Fund, which has that EDA levy component, and that is more those operating activities. It funds our EDA manager and some of those yearly operating activities. The HRA fund, also a special revenue fund, funded now with this HRA levy, and still accounting for that EDA manager and staff and those sorts of HRA activities. And then specifically, the ED Trust Fund, that is a capital project fund. It is funded with a donation that we receive at the city for a taxpayer that we helped get legislation through many, many years ago. And so they give the city that donation, and we utilize it for projects. Most recently, we had used it to help in the South District to do some utility work. We had some money in that fund to fund those street projects in that area. And now as those parcels develop in that South District, those special assessments that we levied are replenishing that ED trust fund.
Perfect. So just to be clear, we've got an EDA and an HRA levy, and our economic development team has the opportunity to essentially use those funds for very specific purposes that are statutory in terms of the direction that we can go. And then we also have an EDA trust fund that is funded through a business donation that the city receives every year, and that's not taxpayer money. And those funds can be used for kind of a wider array of events, whether we need to help support a development that's trying to come online, or I know sometimes we do facade improvement grants out of that fund for local businesses that are trying to improve the way that the business looks. I know when we go to our ICSC events each year, that's also funded through that ED trust. So that has no bearing whatsoever on our taxpayer or the tax levy that we certify each year. Is that correct?
That is correct, and I just want to make one clarification.
Please.
The facade improvement, we do fund that out of the EDA Special Revenue Fund.
Good.
However, we are doing a transfer from the ED Trust Fund over to the EDA Special Revenue Fund, and so part of that transfer that occurs funds those facade improvements
So net, it's a zero impact.
to the taxpayer, yes.
Perfect. That's what I needed. Thank you.
All right. Yes, EDA member Letek.
Thank you. Thanks for your presentation. So one question I have is, it looks like the burden on the taxpayer will actually go down a little bit because of the development of other buildings, correct, and other residents?
The
Okay.
new construction. And
Yeah.
so when we look at the property tax levy and the impact, we look at the existing properties. So our individual properties went up about 3% in the community, and then new construction. And so that new construction in the community also went up 3%. And because of that new construction, the median home will see a decrease in 2026 regarding the HRA levy.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments, EDA members? All right. So this is the opportunity for a public hearing, so I am going to go ahead and open the public hearing. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak on the HRA levy for fiscal year 2026? Nobody at all? All right, then I guess I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. And EDA members, we do have one motion that's up on the screen if somebody wants to take it.
I'll motion to approve Resolution 2025-002, setting an HRA levy on taxable property of the city of Cottage Grove, Washington County, Minnesota, for fiscal year 2026. A special benefit tax levy not to exceed $142,500 per the proposed 2026 budget on file with the city.
All right, so I have a motion by EDA member Kambata. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by EDA Vice President Olson. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
Motion carries, what is that, 6-1? Yeah, okay. All righty, so next we'll move to B. You're good with that, going to B? Okay. So we have the B under public hearings is the Cedarhurst Event Center, which is the financial assistance request. And our city administrator, Jennifer Levitt, is here, and then I do believe Stacy is now here. There we go. All
Well,
right.
thank you, EDA President and members of the EDA. Tonight, we're here to talk about the Cedarhurst Event Center. Just to give you a little bit of timeline, because I know some of you may be wondering how things change. So I'm going to give you a little timeline of how we got here this evening. So just a reminder, 360 Real Estate purchased the property that is located at 70th and 19, which included the mansion and the gardener's cottage. And at that time, they had proposed a mixed-use development. If you'll recall, they had a high-density product that sat on one part of the parcel. They had townhomes, row townhomes behind it abutting the single-family residential, and then they had a mixed-use product sitting parallel to 70th Street. So a lot of density, and at that time, we did have our historic consultant review the proposal and felt that the density was actually too great and detracted from the actual character of the mansion. Because one of the characteristics that was making it on the National Registry was actually related to the lawn and the activities that took place there. And so they were not adhering to the character. And so at that time, the mansion essentially has sat vacant since that time. And then Bella Gala, who we heard from earlier this year, was interested in moving that property forward. So in August, you'll recall, as the EDA, you approved a business subsidy for $100,000 as a forgivable loan to offset the project cost. You'll recall they had what we envisioned as the really most appropriate historic preservation project, right? It was keeping the mansion intact. It was providing a usable space and event center. And some of you know that we have a Convention and Visitors Bureau, and so it really fed into our strategic plan and vision and kept the integrity of the mansion. So it was a proposal we were very excited about. Unfortunately, in October, one of Bella Gala's investor profile kind of changed, and it caused the project to go into a little bit of limbo. And we didn't want Bella Gala to walk away because we felt that their product really was what our community wanted, and also it preserved this really unique historical feature we had in our community. And so at that time, Bella Gala requested a $2 million loan from the EDA with $600,000 forgivable. And so I will eventually turn it over to Stacy from Ellers to talk more about the loan and how all that will work. But I also have to remind you then, as part of tonight's action, you would actually be rescinding that approval of that first request for the $100,000. So that will go away. So in essence, all of this will enable us to preserve the mansion, keep the historical integrity, and all of the improvements that we had originally viewed would still be able to go forward. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Stacy with Ellers, and she can talk a little bit about the loan and the financing of it.
Thank you, President, Commissioners. Nice to see you, and thank you for accommodating the switch around on the schedule. I appreciate that. As Jennifer had stated, before you tonight is the consideration of a $2 million loan to Bella Gala to bring Cedarhurst back to its natural, original state. And before I go into the details of that, I just have to say, you guys know this project well, and your community knows it well. When we talk amongst ourselves back at the office or with other people, and they hear about this, about Cedarhurst, it's like, everyone's like, oh my gosh, they have a lot of love and passion for it as well. So people are excited that potentially it's gonna come back to its original and be open for events and everything as well. Essentially what they are providing is a $2 million loan to them, and it is an 8-year loan. So the first year is going to be no payments. So that's giving them that first year to get in, get the venue up and running, and cash flowing. So that gives them a little bit of a buffer, so that they have the opportunity to pay in the future. Then in the years 2nd through the 8th year, they will be paying principal and interest on the $1.4 million portion of the loan. And then the $600,000 portion that's forgivable, that will be interest-only payments that they'll be making on that as well. So at the end of the day, when we look at what's really repaid on that loan, because it's at a 5% interest rate, is essentially your $2 million loan that you're making, of which you are forgiving $600,000, you're basically gonna get your principal back, Because that $600,000 is pretty much coming back in interest back to you. It's about $572,000. Now, the thing also to know about this is that that note is forgiven at the end of year 8, that's $600,000. But if for whatever reason, if they are wildly successful, they have the ability to prepay on this note sooner, so that amortization can move up. So say they knock it out of the park, it does a great job, and they want to pay it off in year 6, they can, and then that $600,000 would be forgiven at that point as well. So those two are tied together essentially. The interest rate is where we're at right now with the statutory maximum that we have for interfund loan rates. It's a good market rate for them as well, to help them actually move forward and get this project underway. And your protections really that you have is you have a mortgage on the property. You'll be second position to the bank. But, you know, at the end of the day, when you look at this, it's kind of one of those once-in-a-lifetime opportunities that comes before you. So your investment really is about bringing this back as a community asset that can be utilized. And because you are acting as a lender, there is risk, right? There is risk that the developer doesn't become successful, that they can't make a go of the project, and potentially you may not get your original $2 million repaid, or the 1.4 that you're anticipating to get repaid. That's your risk profile, but we think that we have mitigated it. The other good thing is you have a event coordinator or group that has experience, right? So it's not somebody who's never done this before, they're not new to the business. They get it and they actually understand it. So with that, Mr. President, I will turn it back over to you to open the public hearing, because this is considered a business subsidy, which you did the hearing before, but since we have a higher amount, we are reholding that as well, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
All right, first, just is there any questions for her at this point? Yes, EDA member Jean Baptiste.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. So one quick question is, are we at all worried about, excuse me, their capital position? So it seems like they would be at less than 5%, which seems a little bit low given that, you know, it's close to a $9 million project. Most of the time, if you're doing multifamily, even if you're doing residential owner occupant, you can't get a duplex for less than 5%. Yet these guys are doing a $9 million project with less than 5%, with the city having a 23% position. Are we concerned that they might be over leveraged at all?
EDA President, Commissioner, that's a great question. And so, yeah, their equity investment is low, right? And that's one of the things that we noted, but that's what they have to bring to the table today. But, you know, they are also signing on a loan with the bank that they're going to have to be responsible for repayment of, as well as this loan as well. And at the end of the day, in your traditional projects that we would look at, you know, we would probably have a different opinion on how to move this forward. But this is a really kind of a once in a lifetime, a special circumstance. So at the end of the day, this is what helps get it over the hump, right? To get this project moving forward, to actually get the bank loan closed and get the project moving forward.
Got it. One more question on do they have any sort of prepayment penalty? So I know in the file had mentioned that we could potentially get very close to that $2 million back, about 1.9, but close to about, I think, a little over $500,000 of that is in interest, and that's assuming that they pay for the full 8 years. But to your point, if this project is wildly successful and decided to pay off early, you know, is there a prepayment penalty that gets us at least close to that 1.9, or are we going to be close to that 1.4?
President, Commissioner, there is no prepayment penalty on the city's loan.
Okay.
What I might just mention out there just for the group, what is interesting or unique about this, let alone put aside Cedarhurst at this moment, is the bank that they're going through literally had a meeting with us to talk about the entire project, which is frankly having a bank talk to you about a loan that they're going to give to a business is like complete. I've never seen it in all the years I've been the mayor. So that was kind of interesting to see that. And I don't think it's in here, but we did get to see some of their financials, if you will, on the other venues that they run around the Twin Cities. They've been extremely successful, very well respected and well known. And even what they're proposing on this site here for what their cash flow is going to be, it's going to be, based on what we saw, even if it's half, it's going to be wildly successful for them. So, which means it's going to be good for us too. And then the last thing I'll mention, and I agree that my comment at the very beginning of all this is if we're going to give a $2 million loan and the interest rate's basically, you know, $600,000 if you think about when it's all in, and we're going to give a $600,000 loan. I know it's a little bit different. Before, this is going to sound weird, but I'm just going to say it. We were going to give them $100,000 just off the cuff, right? That was what we approved before. So in the grand scheme of things, we're going to be, we're good. Do you follow what I'm saying? I mean, originally we were going to take $100,000 and just give them $100,000 to help with the project. In the end here, we're going to give them a loan as long as we get the money back, which, you know, obviously there's risk in that. But we're basically going to be whole and have a project with a higher taxable value and a venue that's going to be, you know, second to none in the East Metro. So there is risk, and I appreciate you bringing those risks up because you know, especially the equity piece of it, but between us and the bank, and talking with them as a vendor or whatever, or an owner, I think we're gonna be, personally, I believe we're gonna be fine. Good questions, though. Oh, yeah, EDA member Cgeda.
Are we at all concerned about saturating the market on wedding venues here in Cottage Grove? And we've got a couple other private ones. The city has River Oaks. I mean, I guess my concern with this is we're gonna have this group that owns 6 or 7 venues across the metro come in and push out a couple of the mom and pop who are already here. I guess have we looked at the market here in town to see if we can, like, I wanna see Cedarhurst restored and back to everything. I don't wanna lose a couple of our great businesses that are already here because of that. So I guess, have we looked at that at all?
I don't know if you, go ahead.
Well, EDA members, one thing that I might ask is JJ from Bella Gala is here, and he could probably speak to the market conditions, because obviously he's making a huge investment. His company is coming here to make a huge investment. And maybe I would just ask if he could maybe speak a little bit to that, if he could come up to the mic, and he could probably answer a little bit more of that question for you.
Good evening, EDA members. Thank you. You know, pressure's on here. We have technically in Chaska 3 locations on 200 acres, and we call it cannibalism. Like, is this going to cannibalize a different venue? We haven't actually experienced that at all, specifically in those Chaska locations. We had multiple owners of Cottage Grove as well, venues, show up to our open house, shaking hands, hugging, sharing excitement and enthusiasm about us coming. One of the biggest reasons is that they're like, hopefully we can get a hotel. If we can get this additional stuff, maybe what we can do is we can get a hotel across the finish line, because that is actually one of their biggest concerns from getting people to come to Cottage Grove, because Stillwater is kind of the closest thing. And so they were hopeful, they were excited, and they're pumped to have us here. So, you know, I don't think, you know, there's 20,000 people basically get married every year in the state of Minnesota. And so 3 venues, you know, in a similar community on the eastern suburbs, I don't think is gonna be crazy competition. We each offer a different product. We each offer a different, you know, range of budgets and inclusions and everything else. So I personally feel confident that, you know, the more, the merrier, a little bit. And with 3 of them, I don't see that being a problem personally.
I think EDA Vice President Olson had a question for you,
Sure.
Levy.
Thanks for being here tonight.
My pleasure. Thanks
I know
for.
you've been
thank
here a
you.
few times, and it's great to see you, and
I don't need GPS anymore. I can just
Yeah.
get here now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. And I'm very encouraged by the potential outcomes here. I did want to mention, you know, from the Convention and Visitors Bureau perspective, as I am the chair of the CVB, we very much feel like this is an opportunity for the proverbial rising tide to float all boats. And what's neat is when you look at all of the various venues that are in the city that cater to that wedding and event sort of crowd, and that includes River Oaks, they all have unique elements that people are going to want to take advantage of. For example, River Oaks is a fantastic facility, and I've been to dozens of weddings there and receptions, but they're limited with how many people they can host. They're not as large as, say, the Madison. Yeah. And then if the Madison is looking at, you know, kind of marketing themselves, the barn venue business, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but the barn venue business continues to grow very rapidly. It seems like that's the hot thing right now. So, you know, I'm pretty confident they're going to be okay. They also do a lot of events. I was just there for their winter market on Saturday, and the place was packed. You could not get a parking spot. In fact, they had to make an announcement not to park on Lamar Avenue, otherwise things were going to get out of hand. And then I know Hope Glen, and I know the owners of Hope Glen quite well. You know, their niche is very unique as well. And they're the first ones to actually reach out and say, hey, can we help you get off the ground? We'd like to see you be successful, because there again, the idea is from a marketing perspective, based on CVB and their point of view, this is going to bring more people to the community. And I also have a very strong belief that it'll be the tipping point for us to get that hotel that everybody's been talking about. We've been working on that for several years. We've got several interested parties. You know, it all comes down to, do the investors have the money and want to take the risk in the current economy, as I'm sure you're well aware of. But I have very high degree of confidence that Bella Gala is simply going to be an addition to the menu. It's certainly not going to force anybody to, you know, have to go on a diet. I think it'll be really good for everybody, and especially with some of the drawings and schematics that we've seen over time. You know, you present a great product, but it's a different product than the others. So I think it's complementary in nature.
That was part of our plan too. Like, we don't want to come into a town and serve the same menu item, to use your analogy. Like, we want to be unique, and because there's a lot of cities and a lot of towns that have old historic buildings and that need additional venues. But the niche, the opportunity here was just, you know, once in a lifetime, I think you had said, and that isn't just from a community standpoint, it's from a business standpoint for us too.
Right. And I know that your other venues have been extremely successful, and that is also very encouraging, obviously. So thanks again for being here tonight and for addressing that issue for me. I appreciate it.
Of course.
EDA Member Kambata.
So I guess my questions were just kind of on and kind of in line with what Baptiste had said, which was, you know, from a like a leverage and liability standpoint, you know, where do we stand in line with other creditors if the project doesn't go as planned? You know, like, are we gonna, you know, have a lien against the building, or are we just taking on the full liability that if this project doesn't come to fruition, we're gonna absorb the cost of this? Or is there, what levels of recourse do we have there? And then my second question was, in terms of a, you know, like a contingency, you know, if this 2 million is the 2 million that gets the project over the finish line, and as we found out during COVID, when we were, every RFP we had was coming back 5 or 10% higher than we had anticipated, you know, what kind of contingency is built into that to make sure that, you know, there's not gonna be another ask down the road, or not just an ask, but a genuine need for additional funding? And if so, you know, what contingencies are in place to make sure that that funding can get procured so the project gets done?
Yeah, maybe Ellers can help support a little bit, but I'm happy to answer a part of question 2, perhaps. The reason that the loan has been structured the way it has, to support the pro forma that we presented. It has given us confidence to know that this is going to be successful, that we are going to make this happen, that we are going to, you know, pay the bill and create a very successful business. So, you know, what tangible contingencies do you have? Again, maybe Ellers can come on up in here, and I'll stay close just in case.
Thank you, President Commissioner. You're in second position or last, right? Because the bank is always going to have first position because they have the larger loan that's out there on this. So at the end of the day, let's say the bank puts in their money, you put in their money, they put in their equity, and they do the construction, right? You get everything all rehabilitated, and for whatever reason, it is not successful, right? So again, you'll be in last position basically for any recourse on your loan, even though it is does have a mortgage on it, right? It's going to be in second position. But essentially what you have at the end of the day is now you have a facility that's actually been fully renovated, right? So it's back up and it's fully functioning. So what's going to happen if the bank has to foreclose? Then they're going to sell, and there's probably going to be a secondary operator that comes in that's going to get it probably for a better price than what was invested in it, and then make it a go of it at that point in time. So again, at the end of the day, you may not get your investment back, but you have invested dollars into a capital project that's actually going to be producing higher taxes, and then somebody else can step in and hopefully make that successful.
And I don't think he wants to speak after that topic. We're expecting he's going to be very.
No.
Yeah. Yes, so ED member, I'm sorry, did you have any more questions or no? ED member Litek.
Yes, I'm sure we ran some projections on the annual tax revenue projection for this, or has that been done at all?
President Commissioner, I don't think we ran the tax revenue projections of
No?
that, but we're
Okay.
happy to do that, and staff can provide that information as to what the city's portion of the taxes would be.
Thank you.
All right, sounds good. Any more oh yeah, I'm sorry, Jean Baptiste, ED member.
Same thing along those lines, not just a cost benefit analysis on the tax revenue, but also on, you know, the projected employment to see, you know, essentially, we're investing somewhat close to 600K on that. How does that compare to the return, not just with the tax revenue, but the jobs that it's supposed to create? You know, how does that look over the course of 8 years, so on and so forth?
President Commissioner, I believe what you have is, if I recall, it's 35 full-time employees and 40 part-time employees generally, and that will ebb and flow as you have different events that come on site there. Is that approximately right?
Not the full-time, yeah, so full-time, it's actually just a handful, and it depends, it's very seasonal, is how our business operates. But we're running, you know, close to 50 potential part-times with line cooks, valet people, front of the house, et cetera. You know, dozens of servers and everything else, and then we would have 3 or 4 full-time employees, whether it be, you know, general manager or venue director, executive chef, lead planner, and typically an additional full-time person in there as well, so.
Okay, that good? All right, anybody else questions? Yes, ED member Scott.
So Cedarhurst, of course, is a historic, you know, buildings, and how many of your other venues are historic buildings that have been renovated by you?
Yep, so Van Dusen Mansion in Minneapolis is ours. Also, the Edward Ann Estate technically is not legally historic, but it's a, you know, historic style building. And then our newest venue, or one of our newest venues, Levy Array, is actually a Cass Gilbert build as well, which is part of the property here in Cottage Grove. And we just opened that one this last May, actually, too. So half of the portfolio is got some history about it, so.
Okay, good. All right. Thank you for.
My pleasure.
being here. I do have one quick question for our staff. I don't know if it's you or for, you know, it's funny that earlier when we were talking about the HRA levy and that, we talked about the different funds that we have, the EDA, the EDA trust. Do you want to speak, or does Brenda want to speak on where is this 2 million coming from?
Yes, the 2 million would be coming out of that ED trust fund that we talked about. And at the end of 2025, we're projecting that has sufficient cash in there for that.
Okay, and again, just for the clarity of the public, the EDA trust fund is non-taxpayer dollars.
Correct.
Okay, yep. I just thought I'd throw that out there just because I know people may be concerned that we're utilizing taxpayer dollars to do something, but okay. All right, so with that, oh, I'm sorry. Yes, Mr. Cgeda.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up on the ED Trust Fund. I guess I don't know a ton about it. So obviously there's sufficient funding to do this in there, but, you know, is there $3 million in there and we're doing 2 million for this? Or is there significant amount in there and we're not gonna feel any pain doing this?
The cash balance at the end of the year, we're estimating that to be $4.2 million before this loan.
Okay, so about half.
Yep, and then there's about 1.6 million coming in special deferred assessments back into that fund. We talked about that South District Street and Utility project that we had done, and so when those come in as part of these developments in that South District, we would add to that fund balance there too.
Okay, so we'll still have some, you know, some money to play around with as we
do,
go about our business. So that's good to know. Thank you.
Good, awesome. All right, so what I'm going to do then is I'm going to go ahead, if no other questions for the EDA, for anybody, I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing. This is the opportunity if anybody wants to speak on this project or this loan is welcome to do so. Anybody at all? All right, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. And EDA members, we do have 2 motions before us. If anybody wants to take the first one.
I would first like to compliment Commissioner Cgeda on a very well pointed question about the overall fund balance. I was gonna ask that.
Great minds think alike.
I would like to motion to approve the business subsidy agreement with Belagala to provide a loan in the amount of $2 million, subject to minor modifications by the city attorney.
All right, so we have a motion by ED Member Kambata. Do I have a second?
Second?
Second by ED Member Cheetah. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
One no down there? Okay. All right, motion does carry. And then I have number 2. Who would like to take number 2?
I will.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve the loan agreement with Belagala in the amount of $2 million, subject to minor modifications by the city attorney.
All right, so we have a motion by ED Member Scott. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by ED Member Litek. Any further discussion on this one? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Motion does carry. All right. Good luck. Do you have a
Thank you.
closing date yet, or no?
I think January 2 is what we're shooting for.
Okay, right after the first?
This was a big moment, so.
Yep.
Yeah, working with 360, they want to push it into next year, so, just from tax purpose.
Okay.
So I should know more by the end of the week, theoretically.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Yep, take care.
Good to see you.
Mr. Chair, do we need to
Yes.
make a separate motion to rescind the previous loan?
Do we need to do a separate
Or was that
motion?
wrapped into those two?
It was actually wrapped in the first business subsidy agreement.
Oh, it was?
Perfect.
Okay. Good call, Mr. Cheetah. All right, so now we'll move back up to 5, which is our business item, which is the 4th Amendment to the Contract for Private Development and TIF 1-20 decertification. And Stacy from Ellers is back.
Thank you, President and Commissioners. So I'm going to do a little history, right? Because a few of you were here when this was done, but not everybody that's sitting on the board today was around when this project came together. So back in 2021, you created TIF District 1-20 for North Point Industrial, which is an economic development district. And so those economic development districts have a 9-year term for them, and it's all about creating jobs, right? Buildings and jobs is what's allowable in those types of districts and for assistance. And so you entered into a tax increment financing agreement with North Point Industrial, essentially to provide them a pay-as-you-go tax increment financing note for $12.1 million. And that was really to take care of all of the construction of all the roads, the roundabouts, the utilities, and everything to service that 236-acre site, which you see that's located on the map that's up here. And so they have come back now, and we've had 3 amendments to date, so we'll talk a little bit about those. So they came back for the first amendment, which was after they had completed all the construction, and they had proved up their qualified costs. So they spent approximately $11.8 million to put in all those improvements that you had requested of them. And then in addition to that, they had constructed their first phase of buildings, which is about 775,000 square feet of the planned 3.4 million square feet of industrial buildings. But their timelines were getting pushed out for the future phases 2 through 4. And that was really indicative of what was happening in the metro, basically over the state of Minnesota. So that's when we started to see interest rates were rising, right? Inflation was high, costs for construction were higher, so things were not getting constructed as anticipated. So between the first, second, and third amendment to that agreement, it was all about pushing out the dates for commencement and completion of those future projects. So when they came in on that first amendment, when we were going to issue the tax increment note, we reduced that from the $12 million that we had originally said we provide for the $11.8 million in improvements that they had put in, down to $7.166 million. And the reason for that is because we updated the projections, okay? So your timing is sliding, so we're going to see what it's going to generate over those 8 years now, and that's where it was reduced, and that's what we issued the note on. So in 2024, in the first half of 2025, we did make payments on the notes. So they've received about $1 million in tax increment payments to date. In addition to that, they've created the first phase of development, and they've created 77 jobs in accordance with the agreement that we had. And for those that are newer to this, your business subsidy policy says that you have to create at least 1 job at 200% of the area median income, 200% of the state minimum wage, right? So all 50, or actually all 77 of their jobs are all at and above those creation levels that they have. Earlier this year in discussions with staff, it became pretty clear that they weren't going to move forward to finalize out the full industrial park. They have been talking with some different end users about selling that land for other future development in that site. And so then we agreed that, well, we need to do a fourth amendment to that TIF agreement, and we need to part ways at the end of the day. So the fourth amendment that is before you today would be acknowledging the fact of what they have constructed to date. So they constructed all the improvements that they said that they would as far as the public improvements. They constructed the first phase, and they created the jobs that they were required to in that first phase. And because of that, what they've been paid to date for the $1 million is all that they'll get, and we're gonna terminate the TIF note as well. So the motion or the action before you tonight is to terminate not only the TIF agreement, but the TIF note as well. And then what corresponds with that is what the state law says on tax increment districts. If you don't have an outstanding obligation in a district, you have to decertify it. We just can't keep it open and keep collecting that increment, okay? So because you're terminating the TIF note, we will go into the county to decertify that district. So that value that's in that district today will be there captured for 2026, and you'll get the taxes that are coming into your benefit. So that's part of your whole plan that you have with your budget for 2026 that's coming forward. So with that, President, I will be happy to stand for any questions.
Okay, thank you, Stacy, for explaining that. EDA members, any questions at this point? Many of you were here for the different 1, 2, 3, or whatever in a lot of cases. So EDA member Kambata.
Can you briefly explain how the difference in the amount of money that's been collected on the TIF versus the amount of money that was spent on the improvements gets reconciled when one of these TIF districts is dissolved or decertified?
President, Commissioner, I'm not sure if I understand your question.
So they said they spent, what, $12 million constructing this? Do they have recourse to come back for the other $11 million if we decertify?
President, Commissioner, no, that's what the termination is all about. So essentially, you invested $1 million to get $11.8 million in infrastructure that's gonna service that interior area and some of the surrounding area as well. So there's no recourse for them to come back and ask for more.
Okay. Any other comments, EDA? Okay. Stacy, thank you for the update. Do you want to hit that?
Just forward the slide. We'll be able to get the motions for you.
I just want to make sure that we get the right motion there. All right, so EDA members, we have actually 3 separate motions, that's what I figured. If somebody is so interested, we can start with number 1.
I'd like to motion to approve the Fourth Amendment to the amended and restated contract for private development by and between Cottage Grove Economic Development Authority and NPBGO Cottage Grove Logistics Park LLC, subject to minor modifications by the city attorney. It's like I read that name 3 times.
Yes,
a year
you
and a
have.
half ago.
So we have a motion by ED member Kambata. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by ED member Cgeda. Any further discussions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Who would like to do number 2? Go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution 2025-003, terminating amended and restated contract for private development and tax increment financing note for North Point Project and TIF District Number 1-20.
All right, we have a motion by ED member Jean Baptiste. Sorry about that. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by ED member Kambata. Again, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And then finally, number 3.
I would move to approve Resolution 2025-004, requesting decertification of tax increment financing district number 1-20, North Point Industrial.
All right, so I have a motion by, I almost called you council member, you almost got a promotion there. EDA member Cgeda, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a second by ED member Scott. She beat you, Mr. Letek. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. 7 is other business. I don't know if there's anything particular anybody has or our staff, no? Other than we do have the hometown holiday celebration Thursday this week, so looking forward to seeing you guys coming out here and enjoying your time, if you will, with family and friends. We do not have a workshop, no presentations this evening, so I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
We have a motion by Councilmember EDA Vice President Olson. Do I have a second? Second by EDA Member Kambata. See, I got you that time. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Merry Christmas, everybody, by the way. We are adjourned.